welcome to Tackle the Board. My name is Chris Exusion. You can find me at Chris Ebom on Twitter, and my co-host Russ Reese, the Vegas line reader. Great week one, Russ. What do you say?
Oh yeah, it was great, man. I remember last week I looked through all the games that I picked, and on the show I think I went 12-5, and it's funny because one of the games the Browns, I would have been 13-4, but I talked myself into just taking the under instead. That game went nuts, actually. It was like 0-0 with like 6 minutes left in the second half. And then there was just like 3 touchdowns in 6 minutes or whatever. It was crazy. But definitely had a great weekend. I'm 4-1 so far for all my members, for all my big plays. So definitely on fire right now, feeling good. I just feel like I'm seeing things well. Just knew that last week was going to be a big underdog week, but definitely surprised a lot of the teams that won outright. I mean, the Bears won outright just because of that terrible weather, but that Seahawks game, that was definitely something that impressed me over the Broncos. That was pretty crazy. The Broncos found any way they could to lose these games, and that's all it is, really. These bad teams weren't even playing well. It's just the good teams were finding ways to lose the games. But how did you do this past weekend?
Yeah, before we get into that, guys, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. Guys, subscribe, like, all that good stuff, especially subscribe. We're at like 170 something right now. Trying to get to 200 at the end of the day. That'd be fantastic if we did that. Pass it along. I don't care who it is. Tell them to subscribe. I don't care if they watch football at this point. Just have them subscribe. Try to boost numbers up for you guys over here. We're putting out great plays, talking out the games a lot, games that you guys might like. Keep the bet. We're giving great leans on for the most part. But my week in general, 2-1 in my best bets in college football. All these plays are recorded on BetStamp at Chris Ebom. Very easy to find. Also on Twitter. You can always talk to me about games as well. So one pretty much, let's see. We won Oklahoma State, Arizona State. Completely easy game. Senior quarterback Sanders, no problem. ASU way blown out proportion with that NAU win, which was absolutely garbage. And that was easy, 11 at Oklahoma State. And then we also had what was the other game that I was talking to you about before? It was the Ball State game. Ball State against Western Michigan. We were all over that revenge game, 6.5. Absolutely love that game.
They covered that, right?
They covered it, absolutely. It was a little tight in the beginning. Ball State was getting a little lucky.
I messed up that body bag playing of that little editing last week, so maybe that's why they just covered by a touchdown.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll take the W any way we can for the most part. But then, you know, it was kind of surprising. The one loss I did have was the Army under we talked about last week. Russ, I'm a little concerned about that defense. That defense is supposed to be a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And you know what? The corners have been bad. The run defense hasn't been that great either. So maybe this Army defense isn't what it's all up to be this year. And last year they were fantastic.
That's the things. That's why you love the smaller teams, but somehow I found a way to get out of there, because when I look back on some things, you're like, oh, you're returning the same amount of defensive starters. They shut down a team, and then they play the same team the next year. Just like, okay, how the hell do you give up 40 points or something the next week to the team? It's funny that I think it was Houston and Texas San Antonio played the week before the overtime.
Right, yeah, the overtime.
That didn't bother both of those teams. They both did pretty well on offense the next week. So I don't know how much that overtime stuff actually plays in for the next week, because it didn't seem to affect those teams at all.
No, not at all. But the NFL was great. I had 7 plays, went 5-2.
Awesome.
I love the over in that Falcons game. That was really easy to hit.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, the over on the Falcons game, absolutely loved it. That was no problem. Baltimore was the play of the week. That just, it's kind of public heavy, but it was the right play because the Jets.
They looked terrible, though. They did not look good at all, but definitely hit those deep passes. It was one of those games where he said they were going to grind it out. I was surprised how the run game struggled, but I'll talk about that later. But definitely was an easy cover, probably the easiest cover of the week for as blowouts, because there was barely any favorites that won this week.
No, it was crazy. And it was originally I had 49ers in one of my survivors, but then I saw the pool over in Soldier Field. I was like, I want no parts of this game. So I got out of that. I put the Eagles in instead. They didn't. That was one of my losses with the spread, but yeah, that was a good one. And then we were both on the Giants. The Giants, you called money line last week outright.
Oh yeah, it was great, man. I loved it. I was like, we were texting during the game. You're like, oh, these Giants looks like shit. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that was my sloppy play of the week, man. But I figured it'd be like a lot closer at the time. I was like, what's going on here? And then I checked my phone because I barely watch the 4 o'clock games. I get so into the 1 o'clocks and then I check my phone on the 4. So I was like, oh, 13.
Right.
And I have a rule. I do not watch Daniel Jones play.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly.
No way, man. I've seen too many games. I mean, they're better this year, but any other year, man, these guys kneeling the ball like on the 1 yard line. You just can't watch Giants games, man. But it was great. I look at my phone, it's 13-13. I'm like, okay, now we're talking. I felt so confident once I saw that it was 13-13. I'm like, we got this, man.
Yeah. And you know what, Russ? We follow a golden rule in the NFL. If you're giving Mike Tomlin more than a touchdown or near a touchdown as a dog, you just take it. Yeah, it's not rocket science.
Easy one, too. Yep. You had a feeling the Steelers did the same exact thing they did week 1 last year against the Bills. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a spot right there. But overall, we are clicking early with these games. And I think that's a good sign for things to come. Things are rolling. Things are great. Remember, guys, subscribe, spread the word, man. We're just giving out info, man. We're beating the house. That's what we're doing right now. We're not going against each other. We're just simply taking over on the house, and we're going to continue with that. And we're going to get into NFL right now. Russ, you ready? Week 2?
I'm ready, man. I can't wait.
All right, man. Well, Thursday night, big matchup, which doesn't usually happen on Thursdays, but we got one. Chargers at Chiefs. Chiefs are laying 4.5. The over-under, us, 54.5. Where we going?
Yeah, I got the Chargers here. So I think there's going to be a little bit of an overreaction here to the Chiefs, who killed the Cardinals last week.
Yes.
But the Cardinals have one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. We know this. So that's just something that didn't impress me with the Chiefs, seeing that they put up a bunch of points there. Basically, the Chargers I have as one of the most improved teams in the NFL this year. So I'm getting a spot here where they're getting 4.5 points. The Chargers last year, they beat the Chiefs in the first meeting of the season. And then the second meeting last year, the Chargers had the lead. The game went to overtime. They ended up losing by 6 points, but it was because the Chiefs had the first possession and scored a touchdown. That's the only reason why the Chargers lost. So 2 competitive games. I'll definitely take the points here. Keenan Allen isn't playing for the Chargers. That's why the spread has jumped from 3.5 to 4.5. But Herbert last week, he was spreading the ball around to everyone. He had 4 targets to 7 different receivers. So I love that he's spreading the ball around. And Eckler didn't even get going last week. So I see him getting a lot more touches this week as well. And the Chiefs, the holes of missing their studs, Tyreek Hill from last season. So you don't think about that either. They faced off last year. So now they're not going to have Tyreek Hill this year. And they're not going to have their captain, Tyrann Mathieu in this game at safety. So nobody could take advantage of those holes with the Cardinals last week, but now they're facing at a top tier against a top tier team. The Chargers can take advantage of those holes here for the Chiefs. So I like the Chargers here. I'll take the 4.5 points.
Yeah, I mean, Russ, we talked about it last year, and I bet other years when we did this show. It was kind of a topic on Twitter. I saw one of my people, Steph Smalls, on Twitter. She was talking about lines for the next week, and she's like, oh, there's a lot of red flags. And you know how we always talk, lines are dictated based on last week performances. They just are, because if you look at the look ahead lines, like if you have some books that you have look ahead lines for like week 2, 3, 4, they are so much more different than what the actual real week is. And the NFL makes their lines based. It's really one of the true sports that really dictates what the lines can be based on last week. Like, that's a staple in the NFL. So, a team could look bad. You think a team that played, that should be pretty decent this year, that lost a game maybe outright when they're a favorite or something. Do you think they actually go 0-2? Those kind of things. You can't be afraid of going back to the well with a team that you think is going to, bounce back over here. And the Chargers did not look that great. But Carr, he had 3 interceptions. I mean, the defense was intercepted. I remember Asante Samuel Jr. had a pick, maybe 2. I don't even remember. But
usually teams will struggle when they see like something like your best player comes out of the game, like Keenan Allen at wide receiver, and the team will struggle. The team ended up closing out the game and won. You see teams that fall apart and lose those types of games. So I was definitely Herbert in his 3rd season. I just love his confidence. I just feel like you could put any receiver out there this year and he's going to do his thing.
Yeah, so I'm right there with you. 4.5 is way too
I
much
wanted
for
to
this
throw in
game.
one thing that the Chiefs defense, they were one of the worst in the league last year against the pass, I believe. So everyone just saw that they gave up just 21 points to the Cardinals, but everyone forgets all last year, the Chiefs in the regular season. Remember how Mahomes looked ugly during like the whole season? Everyone thought he sucked, but now after one game, everyone thinks he's God again. You know what I mean? Against the worst pass defense of the Cardinals. So don't just base it off of one game. Now it's a division game, and you're getting points with quarterbacks are pretty much on the same level here. And the Chargers have the better defense. So you're pretty much got the better all around team with the Chargers, I think. So I definitely like the Chargers here.
Yeah, and it's crazy. The public money for a team that was loved so much this year in the Chargers, the Chiefs are getting about 70% of the public money, which is crazy. And then you're telling me I'm getting 4.5.
When they were pouring it on, I was just saying, I'm like, please just score more points, get in those fours. And then because people are, I'm watching all these other shows and they're like, these guys should have scored 70. I'm like, all right, well, they didn't score 70. So what does that have to do with anything? You know, whatever. They dominated the game. They dominated the game. So. Yeah,
absolutely. Get out of Dodge, get your nice little victory call today. But we're going to go to the next game. The Bucks at the Saints. Saints are getting 2.5. The over-under us 44.
I got the Saints here. We got a great spot here. We have the Bucks coming off a win on prime time. Now they have to travel to the Saints, who have owned these guys, winning 4 of the last 5 meetings, and that's with Tom Brady at quarterback. The Bucks offensive line has issues, and it showed last week. I was talking about that last week as I had the under. Saints looked bad to start the game last week, but that's because this was the first time Winston was these 3 new receivers who were all good, but it's his first time playing with these guys. We saw them in the second half where they just came back right away. They started to gel and they were throwing touchdowns. I also like that they're getting Taysom Hill involved. I totally forgot about him, and he was getting involved in that game. So that's just another basically wrinkle that the Saints can add to just give the Bucks a headache. And when you could play on a night game and then you're coming to the Saints in that type of game and say you ground and pound with Hill, it's going to wear that team out. So another spot where I think the Saints can take advantage. The Bucks, I see them starting out a little slow anyway. This team, Brady was getting in that ass last week. They lost one of the tackles during the game. And
the tackle got hurt, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, man. He was getting up in his grill, man. He was not happy. So you got Tom Brady pissed off already in week 1. Imagine what's going to happen going to New Orleans, where the crowd is going to be freaking going nuts, man. So definitely love the Saints here.
Yeah, I mean, this line just screams to me pretty much Saints, man. I mean, you got to look at it. Like you said, the offensive line's banged up. That's a big issue over here. I mean, and then I remember that. Let me look over here 1 second. So when I'm looking at the defense over here, let me see, where is it at here? Okay, defense. Cameron Jordan's still there. He should be able to eat all day this week, I feel like, especially with the O-line banged up as it is. I think run games are going to be established on both ends, honestly. I think this is going to be a grinded out kind of game. I actually really like the under as well.
Nice.
I know they scored. I loved the over last week with the Saints because I thought there would be plenty of scoring, and I just thought it was a good spot. I thought 42.5 was just way too low for that game, especially with I didn't think Marcus Mariota was terrible. I mean, he didn't really throw for any touchdowns, but he ran for one, and Cordell Patterson had a fantastic game. So, I mean, you're going to be able to run on these teams, and Taysom Hill is going to be running that clock as well. He was actually pretty impressive that game. He kind of showed me a little something, which he was kind of losing his luster a little bit. But now that Jameis Winston is the man, and, Taysom Hill got paid like crazy money to be a gadget guy the whole time. But I'm right there with you. I think Saints win this game, and I think there's going to be some, issues where people are like, oh my gosh, what's going on with the Bucks? And that'll be a whole thing. And then we'll catch that at another time, getting value with them. But I'm right there with you. Jameis Winston, LASIK Jameis Winston, going to go 2-0 this week. So that's what I'm liking here, getting 2.5. So the next game, Patriots at Steelers. Steelers getting 1 point. The over-under us is 40. Where are you going?
So we got a spot here where we got 2 teams that I took both their unders in their team total. So I hate when this happens. I got these 2 teams facing off. I'm going to go with the Steelers under their team points, under 20 points. It might have dropped to 19.5 or 19. I put this in about yesterday, so it may have dropped a point, but still love it. Under 19 points for the Steelers, even if it's at that. We got the Steelers coming off that big win last week versus the Bengals, where they forced 5 turnovers, and that put them in great field position all game long. They ended up with 23 points in that game, and that was with overtime versus an average Bengals defense. Steelers offense, they only had 13 first downs in that game. So it's not like they're actually clicking or anything with the new quarterback Trubisky at all. This is the exact situation that reminds me of the Bills last year when the Steelers pulled the upset. The next game for the Steelers, they were sloppy against the Raiders. They only put up like 17 points, and they were home in that game. So Steelers aren't known for their offense at all. I know Belichick's coming off that loss last week, and he's smart and knows to run the ball. The Steelers were not good against the run last year, and they lost Watt. So I feel like he's going to take advantage and be running the ball a lot in this game. So definitely see a great spot here to take the under 19 points for the Steelers, who have Trubisky at quarterback. I don't trust these guys scoring points.
Okay, so this is going to be a sloppy game, just like you pretty much laid out for the most part. I think Watt being out is going to be big here. Honestly, Steelers are getting about 80% of the money, which is absolutely outrageous. I know the Patriots aren't that great, but I expect a much better game from Mac Jones. I think this is a spot where Belichick, it's kind of a reality check to him. He doesn't have games where he goes back to back, where he gets manhandled, or even really lose often back to back games. I mean, I know how great Tomlin is. I understand that this is a weird situation. I'm personally leaning the Patriots here. I think this is a great buy low situation for them. I think the run game will be good with them as well without Watt there. And I think Patriots get it done. I think they win by 3. That, kind of like let's see, maybe like a 21.
I think it's going to be real sloppy. I think no one might not even reach 21, maybe.
That's a possibility, honestly.
I've seen some ugly Steelers games last year. It was bad. I remember when they played the Vikings that one game.
To me for the most part, but I mean, the Patriots have been pretty solid in Pittsburgh. They're 5-2 in their last 7 meetings in Pittsburgh, so they've had their way there before. Belichick has had recent success there, and that's all been with Tomlin there. So I mean, like
you also got to think you might not want to look at that because that's Tom Brady maybe playing in
that. I understand Tom Brady's playing in that and everything, but there is still some coaching and some familiarity that goes on with that. And Mac Jones, I know he's getting poo-pooed a lot, but he's in a new offense. And guess what? If things just start clicking with the offense a little bit, which could easily happen, I mean, they could make a little bit of a move there. And I'm taking the Patriots there. I'm buying low on the Patriots, but it's a small lean. I'm not crazy about the game in general, but I'm going with the Patriots +1. I mean, -1. Excuse me, -1. I apologize.
Awesome.
So the next game is we got the Jets at the Browns. Browns are laying 6. The over/under is 40. Russ, what are we doing?
This is a game we're actually going to take the Jets here. Browns aren't the type of team right now that are just going to blow you out. I mean, the Jets held their own for a while in that Ravens game last week. Watching that game, they just gave up those 2 deep balls late in the game, but they were hung around for a little while in that game. Shutting down a Ravens rushing game that was one of the best in the NFL last year. So I feel like that was pretty impressive. I don't know who's got the issues, if it's the Ravens run game right now, or if it was the Jets playing much better. Who knows what's going on with that right now. But again, Browns just aren't the type of team to beat you with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback right now. I don't see him putting up a ton of points or anything. So if this is a low scoring, same type of game as I feel like that Patriots game, low scoring, ugly, I could see the Browns winning, but winning ugly, like 20-16, because they found a way to let the Panthers come back last week, and Panthers aren't a good team either. So Browns, they'll beat you with the run game, but they're not just going to put up a ton of points just because of the run game. They need Watson back there. So I would definitely take the Jets here in a close game, and somehow they find a way to lose.
Yeah, I mean, once again, ugly game. Pretty much the quarterback is not going to be able to, open up this lead that much. Jacoby's decent. He's not amazing. 6 is too many points. I see 5.5 at some places. You got to jump on this 6 now. I think this maybe the Jets pull this off. You never know. I wouldn't be shocked if they pulled off a Flacco win this week, honestly. I mean,
Browns gave up some of those whenever it was like getting toward the end of half or end of the game, they're giving up some deep passes in that game, letting the Panthers basically
Baker Mayfield doesn't send the world on fire either.
Flacco to get his arm ready there. Maybe he'll hit some deep passes in this
He's
game.
got a couple deep throws in him. He's got a couple left in the bag.
That's what I'm saying, man. It might happen in this game.
You know what? I'm calling it. I'm calling Jets outright this week. I think it's a nice little spot for the Jets.
Yeah.
They get this win here. They're waiting for their boy Zach Wilson, the MILF Hunter. They're waiting for him to come back. So I think this is a nice little win for. I think the Jets pull it off this week. I'm calling outright on the Jets.
Everybody
got this win this week. I think that
loses one game to a bad team, and that's why I don't see a lot of the teams losing later in the season, because a lot of teams lost to a bad team last week. So maybe the Browns are due this week.
Yeah, I mean, the defense was playing good and then kind of fell apart and everything, and that was kind of talked about by like other people I was hearing for the most part, but. Getting up that many points towards the end and making that a little too close, just no. You know what? I'm leaning towards that Jets money line over here. I think there's a real chance with this dog. If you're feeling froggy, you want to leap, take the Jets this week. Maybe throw it in with like another favorite. Maybe a little parlay action, get a little boost on that. So I'm going out on the limb. I'm going to say Jets money line.
Nice. That's what I like to hear.
All right, here we go. We got this game's pretty interesting to me, and I have a few opinions about this game. But the Panthers at the Giants -2.5. The over/under 43. Russ, where are you going?
All right, so this is another game. This is actually a game that I'm not going to put my money down on. Two bad teams going against each other, and we got two bad quarterbacks. Just not feeling if I had to side with the team, I would take the Panthers here. But yeah, this is something. There's always like two games in a week that's like a pick 'em, and I just don't want my money touching it. It's like one of those things like you're putting a parlay in or something. You're like, don't touch that game. If you don't touch that game, you'll win that little parlay or something. So I'm gonna let you take over on this, and I'm not gonna give advice on this. No, I don't like. I don't want to give people bad advice on picking.
No. I mean,
but I'm just going to tell people that I'm not going to give like bullshit. Anything like just make up stuff to pick a game. You know what I mean? This is a game that I wouldn't bet, so I don't want to give anything bogus on this game.
No, I hear you. It's kind of how I felt with the Patriots game. It was a game I wasn't crazy about, which I gave a little lean, but that was about it. But Russ, the Panthers is the play here, and hear me out here.
Nope.
The Giants pulling out an outright victory against the Titans team. I know that you're not really high on them this year, and I get that, but I think they aren't as bad as you have them to be for the most part. That was a win that the Giants technically weren't supposed to have. I know you love the outright, and that was a great call by you. But, being a 5.5-point dog, I mean, they really probably should have won that game. They did win that game. And you're going to tell me right now that the Giants are going to lay 2.5 right here and go start the season 2-0. I don't buy it. I just don't. Panthers were in a nail biter game against the Browns over here. I think the Panthers wake up. Giants are kind of feeling themselves a little bit, and I can't imagine the Giants going 2-0. I just can't. I can't do it right here. I think
it's just one of those things where they always in the beginning of the season, they're like, all right, these teams are 3-0. These teams have like an 80% chance to make the playoffs. And there's always like one or two bad teams. I remember it was like the Bears with Nick Foles, and they're somehow winning games.
Yeah.
That's what makes me nervous. I know it's going to be the Giants or the Commanders are going to be the one team that's bad that's going to start 3-0, and then they're not going to make the playoffs. So that's why I just have no clue which team it's actually going to be, because it's one of those things where it's the matchup of the divisions. I think it's the NFC East is playing basically the AFC North, and that's who I have is basically are going to be the two worst divisions. And so there's going to be one bad team out of those two divisions that are going to be that team like, oh, wow, they're the 9-8 team that's almost going to make the playoffs. That might be the Giants or the Commanders this year, because now you got the Cowboys missing Dak for 4 weeks. So you could already start
in big trouble.
Yep, you could start seeing the signs of what's going on here. So they usually always have. This is what happened with the Bengals when they won a ton of games last season. There's always the schedule works out for you in those ways. And for the Giants to beat the Titans already, Now what they got the Jaguars and the Texans, still something like that. So now they got a couple more easy games to take. Now they might take 3 out of 4 out of that division. So it's one of those things where maybe the Giants might win some games this year, like 8 or 9 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that around that ballpark, especially what's going on with the Cowboys now.
Yeah.
I think you can see them being second in the NFC East, but I just think it's a good spot getting points with the Panthers. I think it would have been kind of more of a pick-em. Maybe Panthers would have been a smaller favorite on the road, but since the Giants won out right now, they become the favorite. And it's just that last week perception, like Giants pulling off the win. The coach is like high-fiving guys, and he's like dancing with them and everything. It's a different vibe in New York right now. It's not your Tom Coughlins of the world and your Joe Judges and that nonsense. You got party time, whatever his name is. What's his name? Anyway,
there was nothing worse than Joe Judge last year when they, like I said, they were kneeling the ball on the 1-yard line. They didn't want to try to go for a first down. They wanted to get QB sneaks 3 times or something.
Yeah, it was outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Yeah, absolutely crazy. But anyway, so I really like the Panthers here. I think it's a good spot. I think Baker Mayfield gets it done. Giants are feeling high, and like they can't be stopped right now. I think they're going to get a little reality check with the Panthers this week. So give me the Panthers again, 2.5. Next game, Dolphins at Ravens. Ravens laying 3.5. The over/under 44.5.
Yeah, so when I'm not loving the game, I start looking into these team points, guys. What gives me an advantage? I did this yesterday with the Seahawks game. I gave out a free pick, and it was the Seahawks under points because it was one of those things where Russell Wilson, I didn't think he was going to score a ton of points being his first game. So you think about it, you're like, Russell Wilson scored 27 points, Seahawks scored 19, something like that. You're like, well, if the Seahawks are going to score up the 19 points, Broncos, no way they're covering the game, from yesterday. But this is how I feel with this game. Like the Dolphins, I'm going to take their under 20 points for this game because I feel like this is going to be – I'm not trusting because I have no clue what's going on with this Ravens offense right now, but I can trust their defense right now. So basically I got the Ravens finishing in the top 10 on defense this year, and Dolphins, they still have to show me with Tua that basically they're not explosive at all. They only generated 13 points of offense last week against the Patriots. The one touchdown they had was a defensive touchdown, so it didn't do much. I just feel like that these Dolphins are going to be like a very popular like underdog pick this week. I'm seeing a lot of public people talking about them, especially after they saw them win last week against the Patriots.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are just falling into that Tua trap. These two teams actually faced off last year, Chris, and it was just a bad spot for the Ravens. Actually, they were coming off a Sunday game, and then they were playing in Miami on a Thursday night football game. So they made Lamar Jackson look terrible. I saw quotes after the game about Harbaugh was saying, I didn't have these guys prepared for the game. So it was a lot of stuff that they're going to remember this being a night game too. So definitely a great revenge spot here. When they played in that game, the Dolphins ended up putting up 22 points in that game last year. And that was another game where they actually got a defensive touchdown in the game. So they only generated 15 points. So another thing just showing me that they're not scoring points. So definitely like the under 20 team points for the Dolphins in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I love that play too. I think they're not going to score that much this game. I think Tua's arm will be in check here for the most part. But I love the Ravens here. I think this is a team that I thought was going to win their division anyway. We talked about it during the Future show. It was our first show of the year. This was one of my plays. Baltimore Ravens, I think it was plus 145 to win their division. They're healthy now. And when they played last year, they were not healthy. They were banged up on defense, offense, everything. Now they're healthy, looking good. I don't think they took the Jets that seriously till the end of the game because like, oh man, like this is a little too close for our liking. Now we got to put our foot on the gas and really stick it to them. And that offense was moving like crazy towards the end. So I like it 3.5. I think people are just going to be all over the Dolphins at plus 3.5. I'm not buying it. I know the Dolphins are getting a lot of hype this year with all the off-season moves and everything like that. But this line is screaming to me Ravens minus 3.5. So I'm all day with Lamar Jackson again. Give me the Ravens laying 3.5.
Nice.
Next game, Colts at Russ's Jacksonville Jaguars getting plus 4. The over/under 46.5.
I got actually got the Colts here, Chris.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's all about the spots, man. So Great spot here for the Colts here as the Jaguars beat them. Remember, the last game of the season last year that made the Colts miss the playoffs. So these guys are going to be pissed off. So this is the type of revenge type of game that I love. Going to be very motivated also because last week they faced the Texans, if you remember last week, and they played terrible in that game. So you got two great spots where they played terrible last week and they want revenge from last season. They're going to have this game marked, ready to go. I just don't trust the Jaguars defense as they added new pieces in the offseason. So usually when that happens, the team doesn't look too good. And it definitely showed last week with the Jaguars defense as they let Carson Wentz throw for 4 touchdowns, probably the first time in his career. So that's very embarrassing for the Jaguars. So that shows me how good the Jaguars defense is. So give me the Colts -4. I see a 28-20 type of game here.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to a guy that's completely on the under on Jacksonville Jaguars. They needed to win that game against the
that was huge.
Commies over there, and they could not get it done as a dog, a popular dog, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
This team isn't as good as the public has been percepting them to be. Being over 6.5 wins, absolutely outrageous. Have that under locked in, no problem. The Colts, they tie that game against the Texans? That just wasn't a good game for them. They need to get that game under their belt with Matty Ice, and run game, everything like that. Jacksonville, what I noticed with them last week, Trevor Lawrence, he was throwing pretty good passes, but no one could catch the ball for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
The running back couldn't catch it. It was just, I don't know what the total was on drop passes, but every time I was watching that game, I feel like somebody was dropping a pass. There must have been at least 5 drop passes from what I almost saw. Like, it was just, no one can catch the ball for this guy. I think the only way they're going to really score is if Trevor Lawrence runs for a touchdown. They need to get something going different for them. But this is a good spot for the Colts. The Jags should be able to get a little bit of steam, getting 4 points, no problem. But the Colts, not winning that game, tying that game against a Texan team that's Lovie Smith coached, it was kind of a wake-up call for them. And I think this will be a nice game for them to bounce back. You talk about the revenge factor. I think that does come into play with the head coach to get these guys motivated. So I'm leaning with you with the Colts there. If I have to take a side, I'm taking the Colts -4.
Nice.
Next game, we got the Commodores at the Lions. Lions are laying 2.5. The over-under us, 49.5. Where we going?
I got the Lions here. I noticed last week the Lions were bringing a lot of blitzes against Hurts last week. And Hurts ended up having 17 carries in that game because that means they were flushing them out of the pocket with those blitzes. So now we have a pocket passer, and I feel like the blitzing will be working a lot better here. I love the aggressiveness that they have. So being aggressive, bringing that blitz against Carson Wentz, one of the most turnover-prone quarterbacks. I definitely love this spot. Commanders may have won last week, but I saw some underlying issues here. All right. They averaged 3 yards per carry on offense last week against the Jaguars. And on defense, they gave up 6.8 yards a carry on defense. Those are 2 huge factors of a bad team right there. Can't stop the run, and you can't run the ball. Lions have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL with DeAndre Swift at quarterback. These guys should have a field day on the ground. That's probably why a lot of people are getting action on this. This might go to -3 by Sunday. So if you guys want to bet it, I'd probably bet it now. Give me the Lions, probably a 27-20 type of game.
No, I hear you. The running back, DeAndre Swift. I know you're in a good flow. Everything was moving beautifully.
No, I think I was just leading into the.
I know. Yeah, you're going through the motions. I dig it. No problem. I do it myself. But hey, you know what? I love the Lions here. I think this is a good spot where Carson Wentz gets a little distressed over here. And the Lions actually did play pretty well. I know the Eagles kind of let them come back because of that prevent defense and everything, but being at home, going against a Washington team that, got their first win, this is a good spot for the Lions. I think right now, I'm looking at about 66% of the public is taking them right now, and I'm okay with that. I'm probably going to lock this in today as well. That's a good call by you. The Lions with Swift and everything else with them in general, I like them here, and I'm more than happy to take them under a field goal.
Yeah, but I wanted to talk about this game first before I brought this up in that Jaguars game. How does Dougie P just nonstop? The team is picking up literally 7 yards a carry on. I've never seen this before in my life. A team's getting 7 yards a carry, and their quarterback ended up, I think Lawrence ended up with 41 passes. Like, that is just terrible coaching, man. I just don't understand some of these guys, man. It drives me nuts to watch. Like, I'm watching ETN and like picking up like 8-9 yards, just gashing the Commanders, but they get so nervous because they're down a touchdown or something. Like, I don't understand these teams like that are down like 10 points and they think like it's only the second quarter. You can still run the ball. You don't have to pass the ball. So that game just cracked me up seeing. I didn't even have any action on that. But when I see bad coaching like that, oh my God, it just drives me nuts, man.
No, yeah, I hear you. Well, we've seen WP go into things where he likes to throw 1,000 times. That's not old news for us in Philadelphia, but it's a spot where this is it's tough. I don't know. It's the Lions. I feel like is the play here. Jacksonville, pretty much. I guess if he's feeling worried for his job, I have no idea because I think he's pretty much safe with this job for at least 3 years. I mean, I don't think he's going
to. Oh, yeah, he'll be fine. I was just.
I know, but it's weird because he was coaching like he was going to lose his job. So that was like kind of like the issue for the most part. But I get where you're coming from with that. I think it's a great spot for the Lions. I'm probably going to lock it in about a couple minutes myself because I think it's a good call by you.
Nice.
So I'm right there with you. But we're going to go to the 4 o'clock games now. We got the Falcons at the Rams. Rams are laying 10.5. The over-under Russ is 47.
Nice. Yeah. So usually I'm not a fan of big spreads, but we've got a lot of bad teams that overachieved last week. So this is going to be a spot again where I'm going to take the Falcons under 17.5 team points. The Rams are going to be focused a lot on defense here as they gave up 31 points last week to the Bills. Stafford had a lot of turnovers last week, so I expect when that happens that they're going to focus on the running game here, getting it going against a bad team. So I see the clock moving a lot in this game. So I see something like a 27-16 type of game. I think that the defense just doesn't allow the Falcons to put points on them. And the Falcons, I just feel like they just jumped on top of the Saints last week, caught them sleeping, and the Saints ended up shutting them down in the second half. So it's not like Atlanta's going to be explosive. So I see the Rams controlling this game with their defense. Since the offense I still don't trust, I don't know what they're going to do on offense. I'll stick with that under for the Falcons team points.
Yeah, same old story. The Saints and the Falcons all over the over. I like the entire game for the under. The under is actually 4-0 in the last Rams games following a straight-up loss of more than 14 points. So they do tighten it up once they, have a big loss like that. And this defense is capable of doing that. Question marks with the offense. Stafford, is he healthy enough? Maybe he will be for this game because, you're going to be able to throw on this defense. And I think they can move the chains that way and establish that run game. And I don't think the Falcons, like you said, you like their under on their team total. I don't think they're going to be able to score many points after a very pissed off Rams team. And I've talked about before, like the Bills lost the Super Bowl. Usually the team that loses the Super Bowl that plays in that rematch typically covers that game. They absolutely smashed them. Terrible spot for the Rams, but I think Rams defense plays good. And like you said, question marks on the offensive side. Is he going to get Kupp going? Who knows? Is Allen Robinson going to get involved? He barely got any action. So I think there's still a lot of things getting figured out with this Rams offense. But I love the under here, 47. And it's only this high because of the Falcons scoring so many points last week. So we're getting value with an under here with a pretty high over-under number. So under 47, I'm all about it.
Yeah, and the Rams last year on offense, they were scoring like in the 30s a lot last season. Again, Stafford did not look good last week. I feel like they're just going to take it easy. They're not going to get crazy with any deep plays. They're just going to try to make him comfortable again so he's not turnover prone.
Yeah, so the next game we got, the Seahawks at the 49ers. 49ers are laying 10 at home. The over-under 42.5.
Yeah, I actually going to take the spread here with the 49ers minus, what's it at, 9 now?
10.
10? Okay, minus 10. Yeah, I still like it minus 10. I feel like it's going to be a blowout. Seahawks coming off on fire. Monday Night Football. Geno Smith starting out.
Emotional game.
Yeah, 17. Yeah, exactly. 17 to 18, hitting his first 17 to 18 passes. Somehow ending up winning the game, which is basically their Super Bowl. I mean, they're going nuts, so excited to beat Russell Wilson. I just see them laying an egg in this spot here. We have the 49ers in a great spot, losing last week to the Bears. The only reason they lost was because of that horrible field. I'm sure they didn't want to fix that. Yeah, nobody wants to fix that field if you're playing the 49ers. A big favor coming in there. You want to slow them down, right? So basically, this is a division game. The 49ers know that they got to win this game, so they're going to be even more pissed off and jacked up because this is going to be a home game too. So I don't see the Seahawks doing much on offense at all, even if the 49ers don't score a lot. Even if they score like 24 to 10, I still just feel like they're going to control this game. And I remember I said something last week about the 49ers in their wins last year. The average win margin was 13.5 points. So when they win by a lot. So I talked about that because they faced a bad team last week in the Bears, but they lost the game outright. But when they win the games, they usually just kill the team. So definitely like the 49ers with the spread here.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with the 49ers here. I actually like the over in this game. It's pretty low. It's kind of the same situation that I saw with the Saints and the Falcons. It's at, what was that, 42.5? 42.5. Really not really that high of an over-under. 49ers having a really tough time scoring because of those weather conditions. I expect them to put up a lot more points this game to help you with covering that spread. But also the Seahawks, I think they'll find their ways to score a little bit. I think they can probably score about 17 points. I think they can do about the same thing that they did last week, get 17 points. But I see the 49ers scoring a way more points this week. I can see like a 30 to 17 kind of game, get you to 47. 49ers have to get points here, played on that terrible field. That's not how bad they're going to be. Deebo Samuel did get a touchdown last week, but he'll be utilized even more. And then we'll see if Kittle comes back. I'm not sure about Kittle yet, but I don't know if that's really going to matter here in general. So give me the over 42.5. A little contrarian here based on what happened last week with these teams. But like I said, last week's perceptions, are built into this line. This line's really low because of it. And, the weather and the field was a big part of San Fran not scoring. So give me over 42.5 in the 49ers game.
Nice.
Next game, we got the Bengals at the Cowboys. It has steamed up to 8.5. Cowboys getting 8.5. The over under us, 42.5. Where are we going?
Yeah, here's another big spread game. So I'm going to try to mix it up for you guys here. So I'm going to find you a little hidden gem pick here for this game, a little prop pick.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to take you guys probably got to wait a couple days for this to come out on Friday. So I don't have the number just yet. We're going to take Mixon over rushing attempts in this game, all right? There have been 4 instances where Burrow has had 2 interceptions or more in a game. The very next game, they get back right to the running game because they don't want to make mistakes. They want them comfortable. Mixon in those 4 games had 18, 18, 18, and 30 carries in those 4 different games. So if you guys can get this at 17.5 or lower, then I would take Mixon's over in his rush attempts in this game. I feel like they're going to get the run game going, especially Chris against a bad team here. And say they get the lead at the end of the game, they're just going to run the clock out. He's just going to keep getting a ton of rushes. So I think this is a smart play here. Take the over. If you guys get it, I would say if it's over 18, I wouldn't take it. But 17.5 or lower, grab that. Take the over.
So you're telling me Mixon for my fantasy team is going to eat on Sunday?
Oh, yeah. He's going to be eating, man, for sure.
All right. Not Zeke, but Mixon's going to be eating for sure. I like the over here, Russ. I almost was really close once it steamed up to 8.5. Now it's getting a little ridiculous at this point. I know Cooper Rush isn't the best quarterback in the world, but they're going to run the ball, try to keep this game close, run that clock out, control the clock, try to keep this game close. If I had to lean somewhere, I would lean the Cowboys 8.5 because everyone's just shitting on them at this point. And I mean, rightfully so. I mean, even with Dak Prescott in last week, he couldn't hit a wide receiver even with his hand not even being broken or whatever was going
Mm-hmm.
on. They looked terrible on offense.
Mm-hmm.
But
So I want to throw something out there just because Dak looked terrible last week. I just want to add that they did play the Buccaneers. So it definitely was not an easy team to play. You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
No, I was just saying, like, everything on TV and everything, they're saying how bad the Cowboys are. I mean, they're not as good as last year for sure, but
because they lost Mark
faced
Cooper.
the Bucs. That's not like they came in there and laid an egg against an average to bad team. You know what I mean? They faced the Bucs, a solid team, but definitely, I know I don't like the Cowboys. But looking back, I think Rush played in 3 games last year, and I think he ended up pulling off an upset in one of them against the Vikings, something like that. When he did, the Bengals don't have a good defense. So that's what makes me, I feel like the Bengals can win the game, but 8.5 on the road does seem a little crazy. Yeah. I couldn't believe that it went up to 8.5 to 9 points. It's basically they're valuing like Dak at 7 to 8 points, and he's not going to be that big of a game changer for this game. I don't know.
He can't move the line that much. And like originally this line was the Bengals getting 2.5, and it shifted to like Bengals laying 8, and that's just way too much.
Because this is all they know, the public or the odds makers know there's those teaser bettors and the money line bettors. This is the type of game like everyone's like, oh yeah, they get it down to 2.5. You know what I mean? Because they're going to get that tons of action, so they got to bring this
teaser action
as high as you can. Yeah, it was kind of like remember Ohio State and like Notre Dame, the first game of the season. Sometimes they implode lines because it was like Ohio State was like 19-1 in situations. It was like one of these trends. So they know these trends where they hit this high rate. So sometimes they implode the line a little bit, especially if they're getting public action. They can just bring it up a little higher than it needs to be. So, I mean, if you put the TV on, all you're going to see is Dak, and Cowboys suck. So there's going to be a ton of that talk. So the only people taking the Cowboys in this game are Cowboys fans.
I might take them. I'm no Cowboys fan. I'm highly considering it.
It's one of those games, though. You probably don't want to bet the Cowboys.
I mean, I'm probably not going to bet it.
You don't want to bet.
If I were to take a side, I think I would take the Cowboys, but I'm probably not going to take this game. Like, yeah, I might take Bengals in one of my survivors. Just to win because it's just
this is the perfect survivor pick. That's what it is.
Yeah.
A perfect survivor pick, basically.
And speaking of another good survivor pick over here, we got the Texans at the Broncos. Broncos laying 10. The over/under is 46.5. Russ, where are you going?
Nice. Yeah. I mean, the Texans, they looked pretty good on offense last week. I mean, and that was putting up 20 points, but that was because, Darius Leonard, their best defensive players out. Yeah, I'm looking at all this injury reports, Chris, and I'm getting tricked, dude, because Darius Leonard forgot he changed his name to Shaquille Leonard or whatever the hell his new first name is. Like, yo, man, you can't be a star player and like change your name. You better let people know that you're out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I totally forgot that he was hurt in the offseason. So that threw me off in that Colts game too. You know what I mean? So it was just funny that you see that and he changed. It's not like Ocho Cinco, an obvious different name.
Yeah, Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco.
Yeah, it's not, an Ocho Cinco. You know what I mean? He was hanging out in the crowd, man. He was hiding. Did you see that?
No. Well, he was in Philadelphia.
Hanging out in the crowd. Nobody even knew who he was, man. He was just sitting there watching the game, man.
Dude, he lives in Philadelphia now.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, he's in Philly, man.
All right. That's what I like to hear. All right, I'll get back into this game. Sorry, I got a little off track there.
That's okay.
So the Broncos, everyone saw that they came out slow last week, and we talked about Russell's first game with the team. Now this is their home opener. So everyone looks so bad because they're on the road, but now they're going to be at home. The crowd's going to be going nuts, and they're definitely going to want to get their coach back after what the hell he pulled last week. So they're definitely going to play a lot. And they had mistakes. I mean, the crowd was so loud, the 12th man in Seattle. They had
pumped in stadium noise.
Hit a little butt fumble, Javonte Williams running into the guy's butt, fumbling and things like that.
I swear that noise is pumped in by the stadium. I don't think that's really that.
Yeah, a lot of these. They're talking about the Lions pumping up the stadium the other day. So
they're not that loud. No one's that loud out west. Nobody cares. Well, maybe they do a little bit, but I mean, like that supposed noise and the decibels and that's just all like pumped in noise.
All for show,
that's all pumped noise. But
just
Russ,
one more thing I just want to add for this game. So basically, I checked out Brady's first home game when he played with the Bucs, he put up 31 points. And then Stafford's first home game with the Rams, he put up 34 points. So I feel like Russ will be comfortable at home. They'll get it going. So I see him hitting the 30 mark here since they didn't score last week. So I see a 30-13 type of game here.
Yeah. So, Russ, do you got that sounder for me, Russ? You're the sounder, man.
Uh-oh. This is it right here, man?
Yeah, hit the sounder.
All right. This is the game.
Yeah.
Body bag! Yeah!
It's a body bag game, Russ. Plain and simple. So they got embarrassed on national TV on Monday night. This Broncos team, even though I'm not high on them, you're a little more higher than I am. Russ, this Texans team tied last week. Lovie Smith sucks. I mean, I understand what the coach did for the Broncos. He was going to take all his timeouts home, but then decided to use them all for kneel downs. So, I mean, he was really bad, but I mean, you can't be that bad twice. I mean, it's going to be all over TV. He's going to keep it a little bit sharper. They're going to kill his team, Russ. This is a body bag game. This might be like a 20-point victory. Like, Texans got no shot in this game. Give me -10 all day with the Broncos. Plain and simple.
Get him a body bag!
All right, this guy loves it, man. All right, that's
a body bag game. Welcome to the NFL. Body bag game.
All right,
Broncos,
that's body bag game of the week. That's funny because I got one for you later, dude. All right.
Oh, fantastic. I love it. All right, here we go. So next game, Cardinals at Raiders. Raiders laying 6 points. The over-under 51.5 for us. Where are we going?
All right, I'm gonna surprise all you here. I got the Cardinals here. All right.
All right.
Exactly. I know it.
Yeah.
So the Raiders are just a team that I don't trust as a favorite, as they just don't have a running game, and the defense is a bit overrated, I think.
What about Jacobs?
What's that?
What about Jacobs?
I feel like he's an average running back, but
Okay.
that offensive line is terrible. They have one of the worst offense. I talked about this before the season started. They're going to have issues because of that offensive line.
Right.
I showed last week they could barely put up any points. But they're just a team that doesn't know how to shut down any of the top tier quarterbacks. Here's a list of the quarterbacks that the Raiders faced last season because they took advantage of all the bad quarterbacks winning all their games. Lamar Jackson put up 27, Herbert 28, 32, Mahomes 41, 48, Burrow 32. So all those top tier quarterbacks know how to put up points against these guys. They had won 10 games last year, and 3 of the games that they won were by 6 points or more. So you got a 30% chance of these guys winning by 6 points or more in their wins.
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals pass defense, I know they're bad, but I've seen this song and dance before in the first couple of weeks. I don't care if a team's got a bad defense. I trust Kyler Murray. If this team didn't have Kyler Murray, I just feel like this is another thing that's getting blown out of proportion with Kyler Murray right now. He's 16-8 as an underdog. I talked about this last year with you guys. Check out 7 of the losses that he didn't cover as a dog, okay? The teams that he lost to when he was an underdog, there was 3 of them. They're all against the great Rams teams. 2 of them against Seahawks with Russell Wilson. He was a playoff team in all those seasons I looked back. And then 1 was against the Saints with a Drew Brees 12-win team, and 1 was against Patrick Mahomes last week. So that's what I'm saying. It's another blown out of proportion. Yeah, getting you suckered in here, right? This is another one where people just get suckered in by the first week. They got blown out. Everyone said they should have lost by 50.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like Kyler, underdog here, non-conference game. I see a 30-27 outright Cardinals.
All right, outright, a little outright action. I can dig it. You're speaking my language a little bit with the Cardinals +6. I got newly burned by them. I should follow my own advice.
I saw your eyes opening up as I was going and going.
But I love, I'm not going to make the same mistake that I did last week.
I know where you're going now. I know what you're doing.
I'm not making the same mistake I did because I talked about it last week with them, and then I end up playing the Cardinals. I'm taking the over. We're keeping it simple, stupid. Yep. Over 51.5. You just laid it out yourself. The Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, they're giving up points left and right. They're really good quarterbacks. If the Cardinals are going to get 30 points here, this game's definitely going over. Don't overthink it. I like the +6 as well with the Cardinals. I'm glad you brought that up. Public perception last week getting smashed in the mouth. Now you're getting 6 points. That's crazy. Against a Raiders team that really just is trying to establish a running game for the most part. I know Devontae Adams went off a little bit and everything, but I love this over 51.5. That's it. That's the play for me. I love where you're going with the Cardinals, but points will be scored here once again. Give me over 51.5.
That's funny because I was one of those things I wrote it down and I must have deleted or something because I was going to say if you're going to take the Cardinals in this game, I feel like you can combine it with the over here because I feel like it's going to be just one of those like 30-27 type of games. So I think both are a solid play in this game. Reminds me last year of second week, I remember it was like 34-33. Cardinals were catching a bunch of steam because they killed the Titans the first week. And then the next week they went against the Vikings and nobody was taking the Vikings that week too. They took like a bad loss and then they were going against the Cardinals and they're like, Cardinals beat the Titans by 25 or something. So it was getting steamed up to like 4.5 and the Titans ended up losing that game by 1. They almost won the game outright, but nobody was picking the Vikings in that game.
Yeah, so if you parlay the Cardinals money line and the over 51.5, you get plus 482, almost 5-1 on your money right there.
Oh, that's very nice.
That's a nice little payday for one game. So for the NFL, if you will be, it's not golf odds, but it's still good odds.
That's what's great about the NFL, man.
Absolutely, man. So plus 482. I think I'm playing that parlay. That might be booked in there. You trying to talk me this Cardinals action over here, and I love the over, so I think it might be a little nice 1-2-1.
You can jump on those money line dogs, you know what I mean? The NFL is the best sport for that, taking those plus money dogs for the money line, you know what I mean? Combining it. So that's
absolutely. So the next game, Sunday night, Bears at Packers. Packers are laying 10. The over under us is 42.5.
All right, I think I'm finally going to go with my first team under for the whole game. Under 42.5 it's at. Packers last year, I remember it was a bounce back game. They played the terrible game against the Saints. They scored like 3 points. And then we knew they were like, oh, these guys are going to bounce back against the Lions. But this year, it just feels different to me. You know, Rodgers was pissed off in the field. He lost Devontae Adams. It just feels like a whole different spot to me. I just feel like they're going to get their running game going here with Jones and Dillon against the Bears, who do not have a good run defense. So they're going to take advantage of that. I see something like a Packers can win this, but I feel like it's going to be like ugly, like a 23-10 type of game because I don't think the Bears are going to score many points in this game. So give me the under for the game, under 42.5. It's a division game too, so I like that as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go opposite of you here. I like the over here, 42.5. This is the spot where Aaron Rodgers getting completely embarrassed. Guys are dropping passes for him. Aaron Rodgers, you know, he says he fucking owns these guys, and he's going to prove to them at home that he fucking owns them once again. I'm not taking a 10. I think he puts at least 30 up against these guys. And a little stat about division data play over here, if you will. The over is actually, let me see where it's at over here. So the over is 8-1 the last 2 years versus a division opponent with the line being less than 50 points. You're getting a pissed off Aaron Rodgers. You're getting this low over under because the Bears were in a sloppy game. Just we were talking about the 49ers before. I'll be more than happy to take this over with Aaron Rodgers. That's just going to maybe run for a touchdown. He's going to do everything he can to put it on the Bears. He just loves fucking up the Bears. And he's going to do it here. They're going to score at least 30. I imagine the Bears are going to score at least 10 or so. This game's going over. I see honestly like a 37-13 kind of game. So give me the Packers and the Bears over 42.5.
I think that's the first time it's ever happened in the past 2 years where one of us had an over and an under. I don't think that's ever happened.
No, I don't think so either, honestly. Yeah, I think this might be a first. It'll be interesting to see where we fall here, but I love the over here. I think the over is definitely
yeah, I think the Bears is just the one that concerns me. I knew that the Packers are pissed off, but I feel like the defense is a little bit pissed off because people are starting to say that they didn't play any good defense last week against the Vikings. But definitely get your point, those drop passes with the Packers.
Yeah, so finally we got a doubleheader for Monday night. Titans at Bills. Bills are laying 10 points. The over-under us, 49.5.
Yep, this is the game, Chris. All right. I'll take the Bills. I'll take the Bills here, -10. All right. I usually don't take big spreads, but here's a huge motivation game. Titans, they beat the Bills the past 2 seasons. Now we get a Titans team who's the worst that they've been in years, I feel, playing the best version of the Bills right now. Again, this is your body bag game of the week.
Oh, man.
And all right, I'm going to add one more thing in here. All right.
All right.
Hill, he's going to be leaving in a fucking body bag. All right.
Oh,
he might not make it out of this game. All right. He might be out for the season. All right. 34-13. The Bills dominate.
All right, Russ. All right, Russ. I'm taking the Titans plus 10.
Oh man, on a body.
I don't think this is a body bag game by any means necessary. And the reason why I say this is because we know that the Titans like to establish the run, and they know they need to run the ball. They're going to be killing clock. Tannehill's going to be running more with his legs. I mean, he did okay running with his legs, but he didn't really have to do it that much for the most part. But I just think this is more of a game theory strategy. The Bills are the most popular team in the NFL, and rightfully so. I mean, Super Bowl favorites, everything else that goes along with it, smashing the Rams. They look pretty much unstoppable. I don't think anyone's going to take the Titans except for me here. But if I'm getting at least 10, I'm waiting because that number can only go up from here. I mean, it could be like 12.5. It could be, I don't even know what it could go up to. I don't think it'll go up to 14.5 or anything like that. But
someone like you likes the Titans, so it might not go up that much.
Well, that's just me. I don't have enough action to move the line, unfortunately. But
me and you talk about a game and it's moving, then that's when it's like, okay, there's definitely get some action, But
I don't think I have that much Twitter influence.
Yeah. All right, we'll see. I know I'm gonna get you off that Tannehill train one of these years, man. We'll see. Hopefully, when we knock him out of the game, I'll get you off of him.
Well, if he goes out on the body bag, then you're definitely right about that. But give me the Titans getting plus 10. I think it's too many points here. It's just it's a spot where there's gonna be so much Bills love, and it's I don't know. Titans looked so bad last week, and that was a really, really bad loss for them. So. The run game is going to be established with Henry, and I know that Bills defense is good, but the clock will be in their favor to lose by less than 10 points here. I don't know if they win outright. I don't think they do that, but I think they keep this a single-digit game. So give me the Titans here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, and this is the last game for NFL Monday night game. Tough game, man. Vikings at the Eagles. Eagles are laying 2.5. The over/under us is 50.5. Where we going?
All right, this is another game where I'm not going to tell people who to bet here because I ended up finding some negativity on both sides for these teams. So I couldn't really decide who I'm picking. This is just way too tough. I'll give you guys a stat here with Cousins. He's 2-9 in Monday Night Football games, and his only 2 Monday Night Football wins were against the Bears. So take that as you may. Cousins does not play good in night games, but the Eagles, they also didn't impress me last week. So I don't know what's going on with the defense, how well they're going to play. They're usually not good at stopping stud wide receivers. They usually give big games to those guys. But I would say the Eagles, this is probably one of the better cornerbacks now that they've had. So again, I could just go back and forth, saying so many things with this game. But yeah, just one of those things where I don't want to be accountable for any kind of decision game. So don't hold me to any of these games. I know some people like to get pissed off, like, you told me to take that game. But no, man, I'm out on this one, man. You're on your own. So this game and the Giants game, anything else, I'm confident. I can give a solid lean on a game and I feel actually confident on, but this game, I could literally change my mind 4 times before Monday Night Football comes. I don't know if you are feeling good about any side here in this game.
No, honestly, I'm not. If I'm leaning one way, I'm leaning the under this game. I think there's a lot of emotion in this game. I mean, Cousins and, whoever Keenum was there at one point. I mean, the Vikings they got manhandled here during the playoffs. I think there's a lot of bad taste in the mouth of the Vikings in this game. I think that kind of shows up a little bit more in this game. I don't think the Eagles will have as much success offensively this game. I think, and also the Eagles defense kind of tightens up a little bit more Monday night after all their ridicule and everything. Yeah. This looks way too easy for an over 50.5. I don't think they get there. If I had to take something, gun to my head, everything like that, I take the under. But this is a tough game, man. But if you are dying for a play and you're feeling froggy, you want to leap, because you want to bet the Monday night game. I would take the under, but not fully confident in it. But that's kind of where I'm going.
So that's the thing. Like I think about it and I'm like, Eagles, oh wait, they're home. The crowd's going to be nuts in a night game. And then I think about like the Vikings, and then I'm concerned about the Eagles rushing defense, how they got ran all over by the Lions last week. I'm like, all right, so can the Vikings just control this game and run the ball down their throat? So it's just like it goes both ways with a lot of things here. But I mean, I kind of would talk myself into the Eagles more just because Cousins sucks on Monday night.
Yeah.
I don't feel like the Packers game was that impressive to me. That's why I'm saying like the Vikings, they've had pretty much the same kind of defense the past couple of years. So I don't think like all of a sudden they're just like amazing on defense just because they shut down the Packers last week. So going on the road, I would probably talk myself in the Eagles and under. Yeah. So that would look good.
I mean, if I had to take a side, maybe I'd lean the Eagles, but I just love I like the under a lot more if I have to take something here. But
did you see your boy Barnett's out for the season?
Oh, yeah, no more late hit penalties anymore. So we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Rails, man.
Yeah, that guy tried to put guys in body bags constantly.
Oh, yeah, man. When he gets to him after they throw the ball.
Well, body bag regardless, man. Remember when he got a little shoving fest with Tom Brady and the ref had to step in? That was great.
They were debating re-signing him, too, and then now he's done for the season.
Yeah, so he's going to be out of the way. The defense will be just fine for the most part. It's all on the defensive coordinator, so we'll see what goes on with that. So that'll be it for the NFL card here. We got a couple college plays here. I always put on my plays for picks wise. They'll probably be out, I'd say probably Wednesday night into Thursday. I have 4 Saturday games I will go into. So follow me on Chris Ebom on Twitter. I'll give you the breakdowns of the spreads and the over-unders for all of them. My confidence with them. If a lean or something I really love, you'll find out. But I'm going to throw a game out here for Friday because I know everyone wants to tackle the board. It's Friday. We'll be coming up, and we want to bet a college football game. And I got the game for you. Florida State at Louisville plus 2.5. Russ, I think every show this season so far, I think we've talked about Louisville. All right. Mm-hmm. So I was on the wrong end before because Syracuse is now 2-0, and now they're a world beater all of a sudden and everything. But now, and then when we talked about Louisville last week, and we got our guy here, Mitch, asking about first half for Georgia.
All right. So I guess we know Mitch loves college football now. So I didn't know that about him because
he followed me for a very long time, and we're cashing tickets, so he's all about it. He takes my thought into big consideration, and he's also good with the college football as well. So we go bounce back a few ideas.
So what you got for Georgia first half here?
Well, I want to get into my game first. I just want to bring Mitch up because he brought up the Louisville game last week, and we talked about the Louisville game, and we talked about how everybody was down on them, and now they're laying 6, and they were getting 6, and we were talking about this is ridiculous. Like the line's imploded, and Louisville is a pretty good team. We thought they're going to be a pretty good team. Cunningham hasn't lived up to the expectations for the most part, but this Seminole team, man, they're playing pretty well. I like this kid, Jordan Travis, at quarterback. Very poised. His stats really haven't shown what he can really do yet, per se, but he can scramble, throw, just a little jump pass. Like, the team is playing well. This is a double revenge spot, Russ. This is a revenge tour special. Now they're laying 2.5 on the road after Louisville having a big outright win. Cunningham still not be able to find anybody in the end zone yet with a passing TD, but Florida State should be ready to roll here. A lot of revenge here on their side, and they're looking pretty good. Give me 2.5 with the Seminoles, laying the 2.5.
Nice. Yeah, we'll jump into Mitch's thing real quick.
Yeah, we'll jump into it, sure. You want to hit that first?
I'm not even looking at the line, but I'm just thinking under right away when I think about this Georgia game. They just won the game that they killed Oregon. I mean, it was a jacked up type of game, ranked team against ranked team, and Georgia just wanted to slam them. But I just feel like take some Georgia unders coming up. I just feel like they're getting into some boring football coming up, like where not much is going on. So this offense might be a little sloppy. They got South Carolina this week, and then next week they got Kent State and Missouri, and then Auburn. These guys they're going to be bored as hell, man. I don't even see them getting interested in these games. I got to see what the hell the spread is in this game.
So the spread in this game right now, let me just get to that. Right now it's South Carolina is getting 24.5 at home. The over-under is 51.5 right now. So that's what we're looking at.
I don't know. I might take the points in that game. I don't know, man. But that's hard to say. I hate Spencer Rattler, so that's why.
Yeah, he's a
I can't. Him and Bo Nix are my guys that I can't put my money on. So yeah, that's a tough one, Mitch, because Georgia. I'm worried about Georgia just because they're going to be bored in these next 3 weeks. They don't have much motivation. So this is a type of game that I would say is very tough to bet here. Oh, he said first half. Okay.
First half bet. So if you're looking at what they did for the let me see what their official line is for the first half here, because I'm kind of curious. I could kind of say what it was, but I'm gonna look it up right now. Let me see. So we're into this game. It's a noon kickoff game, so we got an early game.
Ooh,
the first half spread is 14. So pretty big number. They have played them a couple times recently. So let me see when that was. Let me check that out real quick. Head to head. All right. So they played the last. Okay. So they played the last 4. So they've pretty much been playing the whole time. They've been playing each other, but it's tough. I mean, are you going to be really kicking yourself if it's really going to be like
when I start getting confident and say something, and then I start changing my mind, that's when I'm like, I'm getting too in depth here. That's when I know like I'm going to lose the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a tough spot, Mitch. I personally would stay away from it, but
especially that you noted that is an early game too. So that's what I'm saying. Georgia. They're going to be bored coming into this game. I just feel like they just don't care. And then it's an early game, so they might just catch them sleeping. And South Carolina could just put up the first quick touchdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it.
It says, "Oh, we want to kick your ass," and then they go up 20-7. Like, you know what I mean? Like they start having to have to score on every single possession in that first half. You know, so that's a tough call. I feel like when you have these great teams like Georgia, I think it's better to just live line them, because you know how they're going to start out to start the game. You know, if you could tell by how their defense is looking in that first series against South Carolina,
right?
You know if they're going to smash them or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a tough game, Mitch. I personally would stay away, but I would be sick to my stomach if I was getting 14 points and then Georgia ends up running them away like 28-0, and it's just like. But I like where you're going at, Russ, because this is a noon game, and it's kind of like. They might catch them sleeping a little bit. Maybe if South Carolina scores a touchdown, like first drive, then you're screwed if you have Georgia. So I'm personally staying away, Mitch. I think it's a tough game.
If they don't do anything the first drive, then I feel like that okay, Georgia's okay. You know, it's like one of those things where you just let the team score first, and you're like, oh, these guys didn't come out to play today. You know,
right?
You know, like those really good teams. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and then you got a game over here, Russ.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, Nebraska plus 11 over here.
Yeah, so I've been lately getting some people sending me messages, be like, yo, what's with your VIP picks on here? I'm like, all right, calm down. I was just giving a couple cheat codes, all right, for the first week. All right, calm down, guys, all right? So I got a play that I like. This isn't going to be like a big play, but it's something that I'm leaning here. It's Nebraska plus 11 against Oklahoma here. So they ended up firing Frost last week. This is just something that always happens. Teams always come out to play whenever the coach gets fired. And the problem hasn't been with the offense with these guys. It's actually been with the defense. They just they're scoring a bunch of points, but they played a bad Georgia Southern team that they don't know. So the defense gave up a bunch of points. Oklahoma, they've been playing defense, but playing very bad teams. But Oklahoma is never known for playing defense either. I think they actually beat Nebraska by 7 points last year. So I just feel like Nebraska, desperate, got the new coach. I think they could just keep this close. Even if I'm down 17 points in this game, I trust Thompson, who's actually been doing well, to come back in this game and just lose by 10 or something. So I could see something like a 35-27 type of game. See a lot of offense, but I think Thompson can keep up and cover this spread.
Yeah, Russ, I want 0 parts of this game. Not going to lie to you. I don't like any of these teams here. Oklahoma, they got that new coach. He's kind of fruity, and like Nebraska. And I get where you're coming from with the coach being fired, and if the players hate him, they get up for this game kind of thing. But I got no lean on this, man. I'll be watching from the sidelines. This game will give me a headache if I watch this game, so I'm out on the game. But I'll pull for you with Nebraska getting 11 at home.
Definitely. So we'll jump in. You got one more game for college football. It's going to be California at Notre Dame, and you like the first half here, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So Notre Dame. I talked about Notre Dame being kind of like a good first half team in that Ohio State game to keep it close, and they ended up doing that. They were leading at halftime, and then they end up covering that game, which is all great and everything. Ohio State, the way better team, of course. And then they play Marshall, and they lose outright to Marshall. And now you're 0-2 to start the season with this new head coach. And he's already on the hot seat, probably. I mean, I can't imagine him not being on the hot, especially at Notre Dame, where football is king. And now you're 0-2, and you got to make a statement right here. And you're telling me that Cal, that's 2-0, who's been playing pretty well, at home, scoring pretty well in the first half and everything, that they're going to just, keep this game close. I just don't see it. I mean, if you're looking at what the Pac-12 rankings are coming into this season, the overachievement of Cal has been crazy this year. I mean, they have the 11th worst QB, QB in the entire Pac-12. I mean, the receivers is one of the worst. The running backs is one of the worst. I mean, they're just kind of getting lucky these couple of games, scoring a lot of points here. And now they're going to face a pissed off Notre Dame team that really needs to make a statement for the coach that they really like, and they have the talent. They're playing at home, and you're dealing with a very angry Irish team. And you're telling me I only have to lay 6.5 to cover that game. They led against Ohio State, which everyone was talking about the spread of 17 points. Even the head coach was told oh, you're a 17-point underdog. He's oh, really? And he's like, oh, I'll use that. And whether he used it or not, whatever, but he still talked about it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of disrespect this week for Notre Dame, and I am more than happy to take Notre Dame to lay the smackdown on the Cal Golden Bears right here. First half, laying 6.5. I think they cover this game anyway, just in general. I just think it's a rocking chair first half bet. So give me the Fighting Irish laying 6.5 against a Pac-12 team that's got to go over, cross country for the most part, to play a very pissed off Notre Dame team. And let me just see just for shits and giggles real quick. The game is at 2:30. I thought maybe if it was a noon game, that would have been even better.
I was going to throw that out there. What I was going to throw in is that it's an early game, and California traveling to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame being jacked up for this game to have to get a win here. I think that's a perfect spot there.
This is a must-win game, and it's a statement game. If they want any chances of anyone talking about Notre Dame being somewhat irrelevant this year, they're going to have a statement game, and this will be their statement game. So I really love them first half. I think they cover the game, honestly, too, but I think it's a much easier bet that you're going to be able to cash that ticket early and invest it into another game if you want to. So give me the 6.5. And I think DraftKings had it at -105. You're getting less juice. What are we doing here, Russ? This is crazy. You have a Pac-12 team, one of the worst offensive Pac-12 teams in the conference that's been putting up points of late. And let me see who they've even been playing. Let me see what they've been doing. UNLV, University of Cal Davis. What is this? The Roaring Rebels?
Is so low. It's 41 or something.
Yeah, I don't know if Cal's going to score much this game. I'll be honest with you. I think this is a game where they put the clamps on defense, and I think the QB, he has some mobility. I think he's going to have a nice little showing this week. As far as what Cal's done defensively, I mean, they gave up 13 points and 14 points up to UNLV. I think this is a perfect spot for the Fighting Irish. I think this might even be a body bag game, if you will, but the first half will definitely be a double-digit first half lead. So give me the Fighting Irish laying 6.5.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know much about Cal, what's going on with their quarterback situation and everything, but definitely don't know much about them, and wouldn't trust California, because I'm definitely not going to be putting any money on California this year. You can believe that.
No, that's a smart move on your end. So yeah, we're gonna roll with that. But hey, that's gonna do it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to tune in later in the week. Get your refreshers of what has gone on in this game, or if you haven't watched, watch it. Subscribe. please tell someone to subscribe. We want to get to 200. I think that's doable. The way we've been doing so far this season with the futures and everything else, the fun we've been having, the body bag games we've been cashing, everything's been fantastic. Get people to subscribe, spread the word. We're going to beat the Bucs. That's what we've been doing. This is not old news, and it's not new news. This is old news. So I am Chris Exusion. You can find me at Chris Ebom on Twitter. That's Russ Reese, the Vegas line reader, going to have another successful football betting week. I cannot wait. Football season in full force, Russ.
Yep. Yeah. And guys, we give our picks that we're very strong on. If you want to give your opinions, don't hesitate to comment below. Tell us who you like this week, and we can talk about the games. Definitely curious to see who you guys like as well. Definitely shoot us a follow at Vegas Line Reader, at Chris Ebom, at Tackle the Board. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. Build our following. And guys, let's talk football. You ever want to message us, don't hesitate to ask us. Me and Chris are happy to give our opinions if you guys ever have an opinion.
Any games you want to talk about, more than happy to talk about them.
Exactly. Any type of game, we'll bring it up and talk about it. So make sure you guys just hit the like button, subscribe. We'd appreciate it, and appreciate you guys that do listen and appreciate the picks.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's tackle that board. Let's go make that money.
Let's go.